Hey, it's the Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast from FTN Fantasy Week 1 NFL game previews. September 5th, 2024, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Welcome to the Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast. We are so back after an entire offseason of talking about the same stuff over and over and over again. We are here for game previews for actual action that counts with real-life starting football players. Happy holidays, says Coral Skipper, and he is absolutely right. Today is the big day.
Merry Chiefsmas, Coral Skipper. Merry Chiefsmas.
Don't forget, if you are watching us live, starting next week, we go to 2 days a week, Monday and Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here where you are watching us now. You can make comments and ask questions live at 11 a.m. Eastern. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show if you are listening to us afterwards on your favorite podcast app. He is Mike Tanier. You know him from his Substack at miketanier.substack.com. I am Arron Schatz. You know me from FTN Fantasy. I'm the DVOA guy. Before we start breaking down actual Week 1 games, let's talk about our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. The NFL season is back starting tonight, and there is no better way to celebrate than with Underdog Fantasy. It is the easiest place to play fantasy sports and the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Underdog is now offering a new customer FTN special with up to $1,000 on your first-time deposit. The Underdog app is easy to use, and weekly contests such as the onside kick, the double doink, and the 2-minute drill are all back. Head over to Underdog for a deposit match up to $1,000 when you use our code FTN. That's up to $1,000 extra. NFL season is here, and who better to celebrate with than Underdog Fantasy? I also want to mention my Survivor pool that we are doing with DVOA fans and FTN readers. Get in on the Survivor pool. There's a $20 buy-in with up to 5 entries. We have a big cash prize for the winner, and we have an FTN swag for some of our participants. You will find it at splashsports.com/FTN for the big Survivor pool.
Awesome. You're busy. You're busy, man.
I'm a busy man. We were just talking before we came on about how we kind of like the Friday night game. It's nice to have the first 2 nights with games. And so we'll start with the big opening game. Back to Kansas City, Super Bowl champions. Baltimore at Kansas City tonight. What's interesting, I think, about this game is, first of all, I believe that last year's playoff loss was closer than it looked because of that Zay Flowers fumble on the goal line. The other thing is, what was remarkable was not that the Ravens defense got slaughtered by Mahomes, but what was nice was, what was clear was that the Baltimore offense got shut down by the Chiefs defense. I thought that was more of the story of the playoff loss for the Ravens.
I agree, and the Ravens let themselves get unbelievably one-dimensional in that game. They did not want to run the ball. They did not try to run the ball. So it kind of played into the meme of Lamar Jackson doesn't get it done when Lamar Jackson is being asked to do everything in that game, and he's got receivers fumbling, and he's got these other problems.
But now they have A, Derrick Henry.
Yes.
And B, questions on their offensive line with a rookie right tackle and Daniel Faalele, who is something like 9,000 pounds, playing right guard, and a new left guard as well. So, I mean, I think people are expecting too much out of Henry given his age and the questions on the offensive line, although obviously having Jackson around frees things up because the defense always has to worry about Jackson keeping the ball, but maybe Henry at least being there means that they won't give up on the run tonight.
They won't give up at the run in short yardage situations, which have been a problem for years. They have an obvious solution in Derrick Henry. I worry about this team's receiving core. I think we spent the offseason talking about the Chiefs receiving core, and, they're without Hollywood Brown right now, but they have Rashee Rice. We've talked about the Buffalo Bills receiving core ad nauseum. This is a receiving core right now of Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Nelson Aguilar. Of course, they've got.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel from the Ravens. I think that the third receiver is really, it's really a second tight end. It's really Isaiah Likely.
Right. And that's rough. And I look at that and say, how does this team stretch the ball? How does this team go further than it's done in the past, which is, we have to run everything through our running game to our passing game. How do you do that without any vertical threat and with guys like Aguilar and Bateman playing these significant roles? That's a concern for me.
I will point out both of these defenses were very strong last year against tight ends. They were both top 10 defenses against tight ends. Obviously, the tight ends are very important to both of these offenses and to the promotion for this game.
Oh, yes. Well, Taylor is going to be there. That was breaking news.
I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Mark Andrews' girlfriend.
Who's Mark Andrews?
I don't know if Mark Andrews is married. Who knows? I
gotta go look this up now. Yeah. We'll be seeing plenty of Taylor, but we'll be seeing plenty of Travis and Mark Andrews too.
Right. The other thing is, because the Ravens are sort of limited at receiver, it matters that the Chiefs were number 5 in defense against number 1 receivers last year. And so you can't necessarily just feed Flowers as your number 1 guy.
Right.
So that, I think, makes it tough on the Ravens as well. Yeah.
He's a weird guy to feed as your number 1 too, because he's such a slot, nifty, shifty, get him the ball in space kind of guy. You know, and what's his name? Odell Beckham did not have a huge impact last year, but him on the field running clear routes has an impact. And there is nobody there that I say, well, this is going to threaten this defense. Other side of the ball, by the way, we have on the Chiefs, we talk about offensive line issues. We've got a rookie left tackle starting.
Left tackle. This is the team that was number 1 in ESPN's pass block win rate last year, but rookie left tackle.
Usually Sua Matea. Now, he had 30 snaps during the preseason. Apparently, they went fine. Apparently, Andy Reid is comfortable. And again, these are some of the things where would this be a question mark about them being a playoff team or being a good offense? Not necessarily. We're trying to fine-tune these guys for the Super Bowl, and they're facing another top contender. So that's a bit of a question mark on that side.
I also, how much do you think Hollywood Brown being out hurts the Chiefs?
I thought he was supposed to be the guy this year. Him and Rashee Rice were supposed to be the guy.
Right. Whatever legal problems Rashee Rice has, he's good for this.
Yeah, he's on hold. Nothing's happening in the next 12 hours to take him out of this game. So he's in. Xavier Worthy, I think he's going to be a great ball player. I don't know what to expect in week 1. There was so much noise around him during training camp and during practices and things like that. I'm not 100% sold on the Chiefs receiving core, but right now it's better than the Ravens receiving core.
Red Matt wants to know if Hollywood Brown has ever actually been any good. Yes, but he's never been great.
Right. It's always been the situation. Well, you see the offense around him, or you see the injuries that have impacted him. You haven't had those phenomenal seasons. In this system, he should have been somebody. He's getting open downfield. Mahomes is a guy who's going to get him the ball. He should have at least been somebody who was adding a lot of value to this offense, and maybe he will be in the weeks to come.
The line for this game is Chiefs -3. I'm actually a little surprised it's so low, because I do think that the team that hosts that first game of the season, I believe, wins by an average of like 2 more points than expectation. So I like the Chiefs tonight, even though I like the Ravens to win the conference slightly over the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs tonight, and I like the Chiefs to cover this line.
I've been struggling with the Ravens prediction through DVOA throughout the offseason. I didn't have to write about them, so I didn't worry about them. But it's like, that is really high. I just don't see it on the roster.
They just were so good last year. That's the thing. Even when you take away because this, and you take away because this, and you take away because this, they were so good last year that they still end up slightly ahead.
Wow. Based on my skepticism, I'm going with the Chiefs and the fact that the Chiefs are at home and the Chiefs are a Super Bowl champion contender. By the way, on the over-under, last year the Chiefs against the over, 7-14. They only cleared 7 times out of 21, Chiefs last year. And since in the last both teams, have only gone over, their record is 30-47.
And like what we said last year, the Chiefs' defense hurt the Ravens' offense more than Mahomes hurt the Ravens defense. So yeah, maybe this is a good game to go under.
I'm looking for underplays tonight.
We'll take a fantasy question here. Pate asks who we would start out of T. Higgins, Rashee Rice, and George Pickens. Now, this is the first time I get to say this, which will become a sort of standard of the Thursday shows. We are not the best guys to give you fantasy advice, even though this podcast is brought to you by FTN Fantasy. I do not have the projections in front of me to be able to tell you that this guy is projected with 8.6 points and this guy is projected with 7.4 points. So the best thing you can do is have a subscription to FTN Fantasy and check Jeff Radcliffe and Scott Spratt's projections on the website. But if you do ask a question, I will give you my somewhat uninformed or somewhat informed.
You're informed. We're informed. You're informed.
If it's a PPR league, I would take Rashee Rice.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is a regular league without PPR, I would take George Pickens.
I think I'm going with Rice and Rice. I see the Pickens deep ball from Wilson possibility there.
We'll get to that in a second when we talk Pittsburgh and Atlanta.
Higgins, you also have the question mark. I think Jamar Chase is playing from all indications. So that makes Higgins the number 2. Against a Patriots defense, their defense is not bad. First of all. Secondly, there might be a suppression in how much scoring is in that game if the Bengals.
Given that the Patriots offense is that bad.
And it could be 20-3 and handoff time there. So definitely PPR, you got to lean to Rice. They like to feed him the ball on shorter passes, etc. And in my opinion, that would push him back. Pickens, because I have so many questions about the Steelers offense.
All right, Friday night, Viva Brazil. Get out your meat. Eat as much meat as possible with a small side of salad for a Brazilian game.
I thought that was Argentina. That's Brazilian food is all the meat?
Both Argentina and Brazil are like meat. Have you ever been to a Brazilian barbecue place? They come around to your table with just nonstop skewers of meat.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of awesome.
I think I got meat high or meat drunk and forgot.
Totally.
I've been there. Yes.
Green Bay at Philadelphia.
South Philly. Really South Philly.
Which is, I think, the biggest story of this game is the deep Packers wide receiver core versus Eagles cornerbacks who are not named Darius Slay.
Yeah, as opposed to the great Packers cornerbacks like
both of these defenses I think suck. I think both fan bases are talking themselves into a better defense than they really have. The difference is that for Eagles fans, in the past, they have had a defense that was good.
Right.
Whereas with the Packers, every year we go through this where their defense is not that good and they talk themselves into it being good and it's not that good. Because the same question is about the Green Bay cornerback, because if you have Eric Stokes, who's had all kinds of injury issues, and Jair Alexander, one of them has to cover Devontae, Smith, whichever one Alexander is not on between Smith and Brown is probably going to go off. So that was not a comment saying that the Packers defensive backs were much better than the Eagles defensive backs. They each have one really good corner.
Right. And the Eagles went out and got as many guys as possible. Granted, a lot of them are rookies. Some of them are guys coming off injuries like Isaiah Rodgers. And the Packers, they got the safety from the Giants. So
and here's the stat, right? You want to hear how much offense there will be in this game. These teams were 31st, Green Bay, and 28th, Philadelphia, against first down passing by DVOA last year.
I believe that.
On third down passing, 25th for the Green Bay and 32nd for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I sat in some bars on 3rd and 8 with a lot of guys with their beers like, and it's a first down. Yeah, that sounds true. A lot different on both sides. I will say that. Part of what I look at this game.
Part of the reason it's different is Red Matt points out the Packers fired Joe Barry and the Eagles fired Matt Patricia. Both of these teams have new defensive coordinators.
Right. One of these teams every 2 years does the same thing. The coordinator's not good enough and fires them. The other of these teams, every couple of years, winds up in a Super Bowl. So there's, again, a little bit of a difference there. You can see the Eagles crap over my shoulder here. So, but part of this is how much you believe what you saw from Thanksgiving on of both of these teams.
Right.
Based on from last Thanksgiving until, week 3 of the playoffs, the Packers were a Super Bowl contender in training, and the Eagles were complete hot garbage. And there's no denying either of those cases. Now, are we seeing these two teams picking up exactly with that last year's momentum, or is it more of a base of what we've seen in these organizations?
Right. And as I've said over and over again all offseason, the second half performance does not tend to roll over to the next year.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the whole performance for the whole year and include both the first and second halves, Green Bay was better than Philadelphia.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I feel like so much of that is the end of the Eagles season being
a lot of it is the end of the Eagles season.
Right.
So the end of the Eagles season matters. It just doesn't matter more than the first half of the Eagles season. Mm-hmm. And you've got, and again, a lot of that was Matt Patricia, and there is no Matt Patricia anymore.
There is no Pinky and the Brain are gone in Philadelphia, replaced by good corners. We've talked several times in the offseason about how that could be an early season slump. That's an early season slump that the Packers could fall into as well with a new coordinator, with a new scheme and learning it.
The line is Eagles -2. It has moved.
Yes,
it was originally Eagles -1.5. Then it moved to 3, and now it's back to 2. I like the Packers, but I particularly liked the Packers with the +3. In fact, I will tell you, I made a bet where I moved the line, and I took worse odds to do Packers +3 instead of Packers +2.
Okay. I do want to point out one thing. The Packers have a rookie kicker by the name of Brandon Naverson, who I think was William H. Macy's character in Fargo. And they grabbed this guy off the Titans at the last second. When you're grabbing Titans kickers, that means you had a problem throughout the preseason. Again, this is no pressure on this untested rookie who'll be kicking in Brazil. I think, and by the way, I saw that the FTN projections are up now for the weekly games, and they have like these 5 best picks. I think the Packers were among the best picks.
Well, that was one of my picks. Yeah, one of my top picks for this week is the Packers. Although, again, I think I made the pick when it was 3 rather than 2.
Okay, I like all the picks except this one. I respect the skepticism about the Eagles. The DVA predictions are nuts. So having below the Saints and below the Rams and everything else like that.
I think are they below the Saints? I know they're below the Saints in wins, but I think they are kind of below the Saints.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm Mr. Saints this year. What can I say?
You're Mr. Saints. You got the Eagles at -0.4. They're behind the Saints at 2.4. The Seahawks at 3.4. The Rams at 4.5. I cannot abide. So
you're going with the Eagles tonight.
Going with the Eagles tonight.
Not tonight. Tomorrow night. Friday night.
Yes.
Okay. On to Sunday. Now, I was going to pick the game based on what game was going to most of the country. CBS is actually giving most of the country Cincinnati and New England.
Oh God, it burns! It burns my eyes!
That's such a surprise to me that is the game that most of the country, but that must be the best game that they have at 1:00.
Jaguars, Dolphins? No?
Jaguars just don't have a big fan base. Cincinnati's got Burrow and Chase, right? New England still has a big fan base. So
yeah, so all these front runners from all around the country who are big Brady fans, and they're still
are now stuck with Jacoby Brissett.
That's why you don't front run, people. That is why you don't become a front runner. Root for your home team.
The game that Fox is giving most of the country at 1:00 is Pittsburgh at Atlanta.
Okay.
So here we go. Russell Wilson in a Steeler uniform, Kirk Cousins in a Falcons uniform. Wilson still excels on the deep pass. He was very good deep passing in his years in Denver, which is really interesting given that Atlanta is now playing Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates as their 2 safeties.
That's a really good safety core.
That is a really good safety combination against a quarterback who is really good at launching it deep and a receiver who's really good at catching it deep in George Pickens.
Right. And you also have an edge rusher in Matt Judon now, so taking the Falcons edge rush from annually just sort of a joke to this could be around the league average and pretty good. Now,
and I believe that there is a rookie left tackle for the Steelers. They are another team with a rookie left tackle this year.
Yeah, well, there's chaos there because Mike Tomlin isn't giving straight answers. Isaac's, I always mess his name. I played for the Eagles for years. Isaac
Seumalo, is out for this game. Yeah.
I'm going to read to you real quick. This is from Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Paul Zeiss. He's teeing up the Steelers' offensive line for week 1 for you. Left tackle, a mediocre player who the Steelers tried to replace almost since his first start. I believe that's Broderick Jones. Left guard, a second-year, 7th-round pick who played 2 snaps last year. Center, rookie making his first start. Right guard, a solid, reliable veteran. Okay. And right tackle, a second-year player whose best position is left tackle.
Oh, I think then that means the rookie is not starting at left tackle. I think they're talking about Dan Moore at left
Dan
tackle.
Moore is, you're right. Dan Moore's at left tackle.
Because I thought that, is it Fuaga? I thought he was going to be the starter at left tackle.
Fuatano is on the injury report. Fuatano's on the injury report
okay.
with a knee injury and has been missing practice. And I
Red
think
Matt says he's more worried about the second-year tackle, and that's Broderick Jones, who's on the right side. Yes.
Was it Jones? See, I'm getting everything mixed up right now. Jones tried to play left tackle in the preseason, and that was the guy who was getting.
And last year he tried to play it a little bit, and they've moved him back and forth from the left to the right. Broderick Jones,
right?
He's the guy that they traded up to get past the Jets to draft Jones last year.
Yeah, I remember him being a project when they drafted him. And Zach Frazier's second round pick is your rookie center. Spencer Anderson, who again 2 snaps last year, was a 7th round pick. Know nothing about him.
He's playing for Sayamalu.
Say again.
He's the guy playing for Sayamalu.
Yeah, he's in for Sayamalu. James Daniels is the one veteran on that group. Dan Moore is a guy I've seen Dan Moore play well in the past, but yeah, it has been a constant. Like, who can we get to replace Dan Moore at left tackle?
The other thing I'd say is, at least if you believe the DVOA projections, both of these defenses are not as good as people think they are.
Oh, I believe that.
It believes the Steelers' defense will regress.
Okay.
And that the Falcons' defense is not as good, that its low yards per play and points allowed last year were caused by schedule. So the line is Falcons -3.5. And I like the Falcons, but I also really like over 42.
Yeah. You saw
counterintuitive, but yeah.
That's one of your picks for the week.
Is over 42 in this game, yeah.
That was one of the picks, over 42. I definitely see it. Now, by the way, I'm just going to tell you, people think that I do these memes like never bet on the Falcons. The Falcons were 5-12 against the spread last year. Since 2017, the Falcons are 48-68-1 against the spread. 48-68-1, the worst against the spread.
So you're not a big fan of Falcons -3.5.
Well, the problem is if you never bet on the Falcons, but you shouldn't bet against them either because they'll win by 3. I'm going to stay off of this game, but I am going over with you. I mean, that means that there's going to be 6 missed field goals, of course. But I definitely like the over in this one.
Dallas at Cleveland. That is the prime game for 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Interesting stat I found last year. Dallas's defense, first in defense against passes on the left side of the field, 3rd on the right side of the field, 24th in the middle. I have no idea whether Cleveland was particularly good on passes in the middle because they had like 4 quarterbacks last year. Right. So who the heck knows? But David Njoku.
Yeah, David Njoku. Word out is that Deshaun Watson is healthy. His arm is stronger than ever, according to experts on his arm, despite the fact that he was experiencing soreness last week. This is a weird one for me because I look at the line and I think just the Cowboys' negativity has gotten out way in front of the perception of the Cowboys has gotten way out in front of the reality of this team. Okay, because the Browns are what favorites right now? Are they 3.5, 4.5?
2.5.
Okay,
Browns by 2.5, and my pick is no pick.
Really?
I would stay away from this one.
Okay. You want a split that you're not going to believe or care about? Actually, let's do this.
No, hit me with the split that I'm not going to care about.
Okay, here's the split. The Browns are 6-0. Excuse me. The Browns were 6-0 against the spread as home favorites last year, and the Cowboys were 0-4 as road dogs last year.
Interesting.
Useful
title says, with a rookie left tackle against Myles Garrett, how scared should I be for fantasy quarterback Dak Prescott? And I think pretty scared.
Yeah.
Cleveland is a really good defense. Prescott was number 1 in the league in DYAR on deep passes. And Cleveland was number 1 in the league against deep passes. So that takes away one of his top weapons. So if ever there was a week where you sit your starters, and you play your backup, if you've got a good backup with a good matchup, I would try to stay away from Prescott against Cleveland.
His check down running back receiver is who? Zeke again? I mean, it's not like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not in camp to tell you who's going to really get the carries for this team, but I feel like it's going to end up at the end being Rico Dowdle rather than Elliott.
I'm thinking Deuce Vaughn.
I'd like to see it be Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah, I'm going to.
I think Deuce Vaughn would be the most exciting of those three.
Right. Oh yeah, and more fun and
has the most upside of those three, I think.
Yeah. But in the short term, when you're looking at Dak and it's he's going to check the ball down to somebody, and it's like, well, I mean, it might be Jake Ferguson a lot, but they're not really built to get lots of yak in that situation unless they're just swinging it out to the CD.
These were both among the most frequent blitzing defenses last year. Now, I don't know if having Mike Zimmer around changes that, but I don't remember Mike Zimmer being a low blitz coach.
Sounds like there's a different Zimmer now. The dude's been eating his oatmeal lately and really talking a lot of smack around the NFL. So
I will note that last year it's only 6 games for Watson, but Prescott was very good against the blitz, while Watson was terrible.
Yes, I predict that's going to continue. I predict. I don't know about the strength of his arm or whatever. I think the super mobile Watson was left behind a couple of years and lifestyle choices ago.
So do you have, I would not pick on this game, but would you, Cleveland -2.5, would you have a particularly strong feeling about Cleveland or Dallas?
I would lean Dallas. I think we're underestimating how good that front line talent is. We might be overestimating the Browns a little bit. I do respect their defense. I don't know what their offense is going to look like. So I think the Cowboys are a stronger team.
Red Matt wants to know, is Dallas's running back room a sign that they have aligned to the modern pass-first NFL or rank incompetence? I think it is a sign that Stephen Jones, who I think is the one actually making more of the decisions, has aligned to the modern pass-first NFL. The question is, will the coaching staff also align to the fact that they don't have good running backs and pass the ball a ton? Or will they try to stuff the ball with these running backs anyway?
I disagree. I think if they were really aligned to this, that they would have drafted in the 6th round and 7th round in the last couple of years several Deuce Vaughn type guys, also with receiving skills, and that you would see this population of no names, but there would be a rookie in there, and there would be somebody who caught 55 passes for some team in there, and there wouldn't be a Zeke, and there wouldn't be a Dalvin Cook on the practice squad.
The Dalvin Cook is, that I don't understand. He has nothing left. He has nothing left. Nothing against him as a person and his hard work, but nothing.
Right.
Let's go to Sunday night. The Los Angeles Rams against Detroit, a surprisingly common Super Bowl favorite this year.
Yeah.
That is the 8 p.m. game. I like the Lions a lot, but there is what happens if Goff gets pressured, and what is the receiving core like if Jameson Williams doesn't develop?
Yeah.
And the defense, I think, will be better, but I don't think it's going to be a top 10 defense. I'm hesitant on I like Detroit a lot, and God, for them to go to the Super Bowl, let alone win it, would be such an amazingly good story. You want the narrative, but I don't think that they're the favorite. I think they've got a shot, but I just have a hard time seeing them as the favorite. In fact, even though the numbers pick Detroit over Green Bay, I kind of like Green Bay a little bit better because I have an easier time seeing the Green Bay defense coming out of nowhere to be good than I do seeing Khalif Raymond
think they made
coming out of nowhere to be,
I think they made changes in Detroit that are going to be good on their defense. And when we start saying, well, what if Goff gets pressured behind probably the best offensive line in the NFL right now?
It is.
Start asking questions like for the 49ers, what happens if anything bad happens?
Well, that's,
right? Oh, no, it's adversity. So, I'm going to stick with the Lions on that.
Rams have a big advantage. They were 6th passing on third downs last year, where the Detroit defense was 26th, while Detroit has a big advantage both passing and running on first downs.
Yes. Yeah, they're great ahead of the sticks team.
And the Lions blitz a lot, and Stafford was much better last year with 4 pass rushers than he was against a blitz, although he was still above average against the blitz.
Right. And I don't know what we're going to see in terms of blitzes against these teams this year. I think we're going to see different mentalities, different approaches. The Rams in particular, I think, are emphasizing the run more this year. By the way, a little bit on the injury report for the Rams. We do have Puka as a full participant. He has been hurt for much.
It is going to be, from a fantasy perspective, it is interesting to see just how they're going to use Kupp and Puka both together.
Right. And they drafted this rookie who's almost like another Puka. He was like a 4th or 5th round pick, and he was just catching everything in sight. Whittingham, I believe his name is. One little concern, the cornerbacks were hurt for the Rams. They're expected to play. Haverstein, the right tackle, is questionable, very questionable for this game, which can be a problem, obviously. You have a veteran starting right tackle. Not a lot of depth on the Rams still.
Although Hutchinson's on the other side, right? The problem with the Lions is the Lions have one pass rusher.
Right. They have the one pass rusher, but they can blitz. They can do other things to bring that.
But, I mean, this feels like a really good game to me. I mean, because people are so high on the Lions, the Rams are a really strong first opponent for them. The line is Lions minus 3.5.
I'll take it. I'm
going to take it. I'm going with the Lions minus 3.5. Yeah.
Right. I feel like people look at the Rams and keep seeing that same Rams team, and there's no Aaron Donald there, and they have rebuilt a lot of things along the way, but I'm not sure, except for Puka, I'm not sure about some of these guys that have stepped up in the last year.
They're depending a lot on a couple of rookies, on the 2 guys from Florida State, Verse and Bryson. What's his last name? Trice.
I've got it up here. I can't remember these gentlemen's name either. I know who you mean. His name has eluded me. Oh, Braden Fisk.
Braden Fisk. That's the other Florida State guy. Yes, they're depending a lot on those 2 guys. Fisk is basically the Donald replacement, and Jared Verse is the edge rusher that they've needed for a long time. So let's see what happens.
Right. That's a lot. That's a lot of to ask for in the opener against a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah. All right. That does it for our week 1 preview, folks. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's play these games. I'm excited. I'm excited to play these games. Again, I want to remind everyone, do not forget about the Survivor Pool. The Arron Schatz Survivor Pool. Compete against each other. Compete against me. splashsports.com/FTN. splashsports.com/FTN. We will be back on Monday with our first Monday show in a long time, reviewing all of the first weekend's games and previewing the Aaron Rodgers San Francisco matchup for Monday Night Football.
Everybody's back. Ayuk's back. Trent Williams is back. Rodgers is back from his from Egypt or wherever he was.
Everyone's back except Hassan Reddick.
That's right. He's still in Japan somewhere, so we'll see.
All right, that does it for the Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast. We will see you guys all next Monday. Please enjoy the first weekend of games.